There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
Welcome to episode 104 of the Program Guys podcast. I am your host for the week, Mark Hall, joined tonight by Patrick Hertzberger, Ryan Tyson, Matt Gann. No Mason Prince tonight. He is out there enriching the minds of the youth. As always, you should like and subscribe this video. You should leave a comment down below letting us know what you think when you're through or as you're listening. We have some as you listen followers, and I love those guys too. Share us with a friend. Go like and subscribe everywhere you can. Follow us on our various social medias at Program Guys. I think that's all I'm going to plug right now. Ryan, how we doing, baby? I'll just go to you first.
We're doing great, man. We're doing great. It's a nice Tuesday. It hasn't been a horrible week yet, so that's beneficial.
Good
We're just living life. Yeah, great outlook. If horrible is here and we're up here, so I'm feeling pretty good. Feel pretty good.
I love it. All right, in order of who got the national championship correct, Matt and Patrick, how are you guys doing?
Yeah, another week, another dollar, as I always like to say. Great national championship pick by me, and congrats to the Michigan Wolverines. College football is now over, though. Now we got to wait until this next summer for all the conference realignments, for the new 12-team playoff race. But we also have playoff football coming up for the NFL. So a lot of exciting times, and obviously a lot of sports still playing with the NBA and NHL. So it is the mecca of sports. I can't complain too much.
I love how anytime you ask Matt how he's doing for podcast purposes, it becomes an overarching statement on sports.
How is the world?
Sooner sports, or everything that's going on. He doesn't keep it personal. He goes big picture. Patrick,
No personal emotion. None.
Nothing. Patrick, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty awful. I mean, college football is now over.
Oh, man, I'm sorry.
Hey, we love the honesty. We love the honesty.
Patrick, your Texans are and your Ravens are in the playoffs.
You know what?
And your Rams.
You're right.
Your Rams.
You guys are making me feel better.
God, you almost, if the Bears would have just shown up,
I know.
You would have had all four.
It's all right.
That close.
Hopefully the Bears draft Caleb and Drake May and just have a 3-quarterback competition to figure their stuff out next year. But hey, looking forward to the Houston Texans being in the playoff again. Shout out to D'Amico Ryans. Mark, let's talk OU football, baby.
Hey, let's do it. So, actually, before we do that,
we're
gonna go outline.
Before we do that,
we're gonna go outline.
We're gonna swerve. We're gonna skirt back
swerve just a little bit. Look, no one here is Mason. This is gonna be a little janky, but
always.
We're now 2 years in, guys.
Crazy.
104 episodes, and we haven't missed a week. We don't miss a week. We don't count the EPCs. We don't count the post games. So there's more video out there from us because we're bringing it to the program. But this is the 2-year mark. And Patrick, who handles the outlines like a champion, thought it would be fun to go over some of our favorite memories from the last 2 years. And the best thing I think would be if we know episodes that they're related to. So you have a memory and hey, I know that it's around this time, right? I remember when we did this. You can go check it out. If y'all don't mind, I'll start with that in mind so that everyone else can maybe hit that search function when they go to the Program Guys podcast channel. The Peyton Bowen flip.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Is to this day just the most giddiness I had about hopping on a podcast with you guys. We were all glued to our phones, glued to social media. He didn't fax the time incorrectly to Oregon. It's all funky. And all of a sudden, he's still not signed. And he's signed to Oklahoma. And boy, we got on the computer so fast. It was so fun. The episode title is called Peyton Bowen Flips and Signs to Oklahoma. Go check it out. It's a very fun one. Came out 12/22/22. We love alliteration here. Definitely one of my funnest memories recording on the pod. Who wants to go next?
Mark, you were very well prepared for that, and I did
I
not
just like
know.
searched it because I knew I
I
was going
just,
to go Peyton Bowen flip. I just knew I'd have that, you
I
know?
did not know about. I have a particular moment. I do not know what episode it is on. It is early. It is early in our podcasting. Um, and it is when we found out how much of an enigma Matt Gann is, specifically around his tennis playing. And I remember a specific conversation where me and Mason looked at him and were like, You play tennis?" And he was like, "Yeah, I play it all the time." And and we were like, "What are you talking about? You've never mentioned that in your life." And then ever since that conversation, I'm serious, y'all. He texts in the group all the time about playing tennis. All the time. He never mentioned that in like 5 years of friendship that he ever once played tennis. And now, and I just remember Mason look at him and just like, "What? Who are
And
you?"
now we know. Now we
Like,
know.
who are you? And I just remember having a really good time with you guys about that. So that's my memory. That is early. I do not know the episode number to that. That is way back in the day, though. If you're an OG fan, you remember that moment.
Yeah, I'm having trouble trying to find it too. So, yeah, longtime fans know Matt Gann, hard to understand. Patrick,
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Going back a little further, I think one of my favorite takes that I had was the Patriots should fire Bill Belichick.
Jesus.
I think I
Are
said
you
that about a year and a
serious?
half ago. And
You
like
found this?
I was right.
You were
I
right,
was
Patrick.
right. A little
Yep.
more recently, though, I think the Danny Stutzman remaining at Oklahoma
That
was
was
probably
fun.
one of my favorite moments in podcasts to discuss because we always come up on here and we talk about Oklahoma football culture and what Brent Venables is trying to build. And we've seen Danny progress in the last few years at OU into the program guy Brent Venables is trying to build and wants everyone to be. So when Danny said he was staying, I think that meant a lot to the fan base, and it was just awesome to talk about it.
I like the way that just we've all talked about Danny has changed over the last year and a half or so. Like Mason hated him last year.
Hated
He
him.
just full on hated him. Danny could do nothing right. And this year, he's the rightful Butkus winner. Like he's the king in the North. And well, in the SEC, he actually is the king in the North. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, great one. Matt Gann.
Two memories are sticking out to me. The first one is the video of us doing the post-game pod after Nebraska and all of us giving predictions that this team
It's a playoff
could have
team.
made it to the playoffs, Big 12 champion minimum, and
Tough.
the energy surrounding the start of the BV error, and then obviously the debacle that happened of how wrong we all were after that, ending 6-7. The other one outside of OU football is probably the one-on-one interviews that we do. The one in particular with Aaron Miller on OU softball, getting more insights on Patty Gasso and that absolute dynasty. Because as you know, when we talk about the Wagons and talk about these other OU football programs, or not, sorry, OU sports, gymnastics, tennis, basketball, these others. OU is not just a football school. They are dominant in other areas as well. So hearing Aaron Miller's insights on Patty Gasso, who she is, her firsthand experience, and obviously the dynasty she built, I think that was one of our best one-on-one interviews that Mason was able to do.
Yeah, that was
I
Mason and Mark were able to do that one. And it was a very fun one. It got Mark a lot of street cred with his softball playing at the time niece. So it was pretty cool. That's
I
a fun one too, the interviews. Go ahead, Ryan.
I have one that I remember. It's just popping in my head. When when Mark and Gann had the debate off that we like timed. Do you remember
program battle.
this? The program
Yeah,
battle.
the program battle.
The
Between
one and
the
only.
Oklahoma City Thunder and the Houston Rockets.
Well, the
And
problem is,
if we're now looking at it, who won that battle?
I mean, it seems like my team has the next Jokic, so it's still open. It's still
open.
Still open. Thunder for now, for sure. But the question has not been answered just yet. I think, see, we could do more program battles. The problem is like no one signed up to just start fighting each other.
No.
And I was really hoping there'd be more topics where we'd be like, save it for the pod. And that just never happened. Instead
Maybe
of fighting, we
2024.
just like stopped
Maybe
talking.
I think it's
2024, yeah.
something. I think it's something we prioritize going into this offseason is a program battle or two, at least like once a month.
Yeah, why not?
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're in the comments and you want to see us battle it out, give us some ideas, some things that we could fight about. And if you remember the last one, if you don't remember the last one, give us some parameters that you would like to see because we don't mind changing it up. We want the best programming we can bring to the guys.
Agreed. I got one already. Would you take Baker or Kyler? Let's do that. Not right now.
I mean, who wants to do it? Because it's
Everybody.
quick question. Quick answer. Kyler Murray.
Let's see, I think Mason would say Baker.
Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
torn.
Mason, of
I'm
course,
torn.
would.
I'm torn.
Mason, of course, would. But if you put Kyler Murray on the Buccaneers, if you had Kyler
Okay.
Murray throwing
All
the
right,
ball to
anyways,
Mike Evans,
Save it for the pod.
Yeah, save it for the pod. Save it for the pod.
Save it for the
Save it for the
pod.
pod.
Save it for the pod.
I would
And on that note, we're done reminiscing. This is an Oklahoma football podcast. Let's talk Oklahoma football. Zac Alley is your new 29-year-old defensive coordinator.
Maybe.
Not officially.
He is. He's on campus. He's working with the team. He's there. He's going to be the guy. After Ted Roof sort of is shown the door. And this is a move that we all thought would come eventually, but even during exit interviews for the season after the Alamo Bowl, Brent Venables spoke fondly of Ted Roof. Ted Roof mentioned his desire to continue coaching. So something changed, and Brent obviously wanted to get someone else in there. There's a lot of people running with the idea that, oh, this means Brent wants to be the head coach and not focus on the defense anymore. And I just don't totally get that. Like, he wants to be the total CEO. I don't totally get that. I think that we'll get there in like a couple of years if Zac Alley is really good at his job. But sorry, for background, 29-year-old defensive coordinator at Jacksonville State, oversaw a very great turnaround there this season. Only 1 year there. He was the DC somewhere else before that. And before that, he was a grad assistant for Brent Venables at Clemson after playing for Brent Venables at Clemson. So a lot of familiarity with Brent, with the system, all of that. I've rambled a little bit. I hope that I've gotten the gist of this out. But Matt Gann, let's start with you. You're giving me the most puzzled face. Give me your thoughts on Zac Alley. Anything I said there. What do you think, man?
I think it's a great hire. I've seen a lot of interviews of him, especially talking about BV, and it almost reminds me of a young BV. It's incredible how similar they act and enunciate and show themselves in front of the media and reporters and all that. Just to give you some stats under his 1 year at Jacksonville State, they were 7th in turnovers, 8th in stop rate, 15th in run defense, 33rd in scoring defense, 43rd in total defense, 15th in tackles, number 9 in interceptions, number 16th in tackle for losses. Not a bad run for a conference that they're in. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, they did this in the SEC or they did this in the ACC. They're definitely in a smaller conference, but for 1 year to bring Jackson State where they were and to get a bowl game or a bowl win at the end of the season, I think that's some pretty good credibility. I like the hire, I like the familiarity that he has with BV. Again, I think it's just a little BV kind of in the making for what Zac Alley can bring. And listen, he's got some animals coming in that 24 class that he can work and mold along with Todd Bates, Miguel Chavis, and all the other coordinators. I think this is a good hire, and we hope to see some pretty big differences, especially with the dogs that we got coming in.
Ryan?
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, for sure. I So I agree with everything that Gan said. I actually do really like this hire. I think when it first was like talked about, I was like, oh, this dude's really young. It's like that's strange. But then I saw on Twitter that when like BV came to Oklahoma as co-DC, he was 28. So like it's not really like that shocking to me that we're going after someone young, mostly because of everything Gan said with him being like a mini Venables. But at the same time, like what BV is doing, and I think it's very, very clear what he's doing, is building this bench of people that he is going to be able to pull from and move around and shift around as they are getting more and more positions. We've talked about this a lot on the pod, but if we're going to be the Alabama and the Georgias of, if we're going to be like Alabama and like Georgia, we have to expect that our coordinators are going to start getting job offers and getting head coaching offers. We saw it with Levy this year. Like that is going to keep happening. And what I think he's doing is he's building a bench. And I think Zac Alley being the defensive coordinator, yes, but also is he, um, trying to mirror himself onto Zac Alley so when it's time he can take over, or there's a lot of things out there that you could like guess from this, but I think ultimately what he's trying to do is he's trying to say like I am bringing in the right people who I need to make this work going into the SEC. He feels a bit more comfortable in his second year to be able to do that. I mean, from what I heard with the conversation with Ted Roof, he wanted to keep him on, but he was like, this is the direction we're going. And Ted Roof decided that that's not the direction he wanted to go. And that's totally fine.
I'm sure he wants to
And
call a defense, really call a
like,
defense
yeah, but he
before
was like,
hangs him up.
this is the direction we're going. Like this is what I need, and this is what the university needs, and this is what the team needs. And it feels to me, I really like that aspect to it because it feels to me more that BV is getting into more of that head coaching role. And I
Mhm.
know, Mark, you said earlier, like, oh, you don't
I
like,
just don't see it happening like immediately.
not
I don't think. I
immediately, but
think
I
that that's
think
like it's setting. I agree with you. It's setting himself up for the future. I think
exactly. And
what Brent has done is kind of incredible with his staff because everyone on his side of the ball is a Brent Venables guy, or it's like Jay
yeah,
Valai, Brandon Hall. Those guys have become Venables guys, and everyone on the offensive side of the ball is an Oklahoma guy. He's built a staff with ties either to him or to Oklahoma that are loyalty ties. You don't want to
mhm,
leave your alma mater unless it's for a good reason, like Jeff Lebby had.
yeah.
Props to Jeff Lebby. He got a head coaching job.
Youngest
That's great.
youngest head coach in the SEC now. Good for
And
Levy.
I
That's great.
and I wanted to make one point about Zac Alley. He was the youngest DC for Louisiana Monroe. I Googled it while Matt was talking. Matt, great points, but I was Googling. He was the youngest DC in FBS for ULM, and he was hired sight unseen by Terry Bowden because he came with that good of a recommendation from Brent Venables.
Yeah.
He went from outside linebackers coach at Boise State for Brian Harsin, Auburn flameout. And I'm sorry, I'm blown away by this as someone who's older than 27. So
Yeah. I think this
yeah,
dude
go
must
ahead,
be
Ryan, finish.
I think this dude must be pretty special. And I think part of the big draw for him, in at least my mind, is if he is a mini BV then can start to pull away from the defense a bit more because he knows this person who he's giving the reins to eventually is going to act just like him because it's so I think it's a comfort thing. I think it's a control thing. I think it's like a mixture of stuff. And I think he knows what he's doing. So you got to trust him. So I like the hire. If BV loves this dude, we love him too. Those are my
Patrick,
thoughts.
we haven't heard from you too much. Go ahead.
Here I am, baby. I'll start off with Ted Roof. I mean, it kind of shows that the entire Sooner Nation wasn't bummed about that. I think he was always kind of a placeholder guy. Besides the press conference, you didn't see much of Ted Roof. And I feel like, those are mandatory press conferences. You see a lot of Miguel Chavis, a lot of Todd Bates. So from that aspect, like, thank you so much, Ted, but
Good points.
it's okay. everyone's okay. About the hire in general, yeah, he's a BV guy, and therefore I see it as a safe hire. And part of me doesn't like that because we could have gotten a sexy hire that comes with transfer portal recruits, and maybe a new
defensive line
scheme.
coach of his own.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you push Todd Bates. No, so you
Right.
push Todd Bates out.
So you push people out, and that's why I'm saying it's a safe hire. I'm not rocking the boat hire. And part of me thinks that's great. Another part of me thinks maybe like that's not taking a risk that we need going in the SEC.
I
So
love this
Can
take
I-
from Patrick because
Yeah.
Can I
Mark's
tell you
gonna
why I
touch.
disagree with the
and
Zach?
hold on with one thing.
Yes. Yes.
You're also hiring
I
a
want you to
29-year-old.
finish, yes.
You're also hiring a 29-year-old, and you're telling Miguel Chavis and Todd Bates, a 29-year-old, is better than you because he left the same program you were coaching at, even though you two followed me the entire time. But because this guy left and hopped programs, I'm bringing him back. And that's not showing loyalty to Miguel Chavis and Todd Bates, and that would piss me off.
They don't have defensive coordinator
Bates does.
experience, do they?
I don't care.
Well, he's co-DC.
But
Bates
they-
has
Yeah,
been
but that's
co-DC
not-
since
but
he
it's not-
joined. So did Jay Valai. And you're right, Ryan, but I also did have the same questions. Did you not at all?
No, I think you do, but I think those are conversations that they probably had internally, and like
Yep.
that is
I
something
land on
that like you have internally, and BV seems like the type of guy who's like, I'm not going to do this if my team doesn't support it. So like, and maybe I'm wrong, but like that's kind of the vibe he gives off. I know, Mark, you're going to jump in here. The one thing that I want to say about your thought, Patrick, is BV, the man, the guy that we know, would never do that, would never make that like sexy hire that like that's against, I feel like, every grain that he is trying to create at the University of Oklahoma.
Yeah, maybe
That's my
not
opinion.
sexy, but like he's
But-
gonna pull one of the top 5 defensive coordinators available.
But I don't think he
and-
would, because I think that would just rock the boat too much. Unless they
agree,
had
that's what I'm
unless
saying.
they had Oklahoma ties. And then it'd be
Installing a
over.
new system means turning all of your current athletes that are built to play a current way into a new way. And sometimes that's an easy switch, sometimes it's not. That's all I'll get at there. Patrick, what I would say to your it doesn't rock the boat comment is simply that a 29-year-old calling the defense possibly as DC in the SEC might be the youngest that there has ever been. So I think that is rocking the boat a little bit.
Yeah, and I actually have no
It's like the
issue
Lincoln
with his-
Riley hire from ECU,
Yeah,
Mhm.
honestly.
I have
Yeah.
no problem with his age or his experience. I just think like would it
might.
have been cool to get the A&M defensive coordinator? Maybe. And then
Yeah,
pulled in
maybe.
a couple of those guys? Maybe. But
Yeah.
this makes sense, right? Brent's either gonna trust Zac Alley to make the calls, or if Zach's not ready, Brent's gonna be there to just do it anyway, while Zach still learns how to be the defense coordinator Brent wants. There's gonna be some adjustment there. Like he's never coached in against an SEC team. Well, he has, but not consistently, not in huge games. So I don't know. It's okay. It's a good hire, but I'm not gonna sit here and it's a hire for potential, I guess is what I would like to say. It's not a great hire. Like if Alabama hired him, everyone would just be like, oh, okay, like Saban's just gonna call the shots, which he does anyway. But
It's a major come up for the dude. It's a major come up for the guy. And I personally like the fact that Brent is pulling from different times in his coaching career to bring this group together, because I think it's a group that you're going to see mostly stick together until one of them gets an offer, and then they all get raises to leave the program with that offer. That's just part of the game. I want to leave us on this conversation with this. It's a Zac Alley quote from 2021 that I think we're all going to love hearing. Quote, "I'm going to outwork you. I'm going to teach better than you. I'm going to prepare more than you do. And we're going to win because of that. That's something I hang my hat on." That sounds like Brent Venables wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like something he said at his opening press conference 2 years ago. I love it. I love it. Any final thoughts on Zac Alley?
I want to be clear. I'm not saying it's a bad hire. I'm not saying it's bad, and I'm not like shitting on the guy.
Pressuring Pat. Oh,
I'm
that's
not.
out of
I'm
his
really
game.
not. I'm just
Pat,
saying
it's
like
fine.
the jury's still out here, and
No,
we need to be more
Have
realistic.
have your opinion,
No,
man.
no, I'm just saying I don't
It's
think
good.
the
Stick to
fan
your
base.
guns, bro.
It's good.
No, I'm
Stick
just
to
saying
'em.
I don't think the fan base is being extremely realistic about the situation. Like he's got a lot to prove. He's a young guy. He knows that. But like everyone's super excited because he's a little mini me. Like I don't know if that's a good
Yep.
thing. We don't know if that's a good thing yet.
I can get that. We're drinking the Crimson and Cream Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
We always are.
There's some stuff to be hesitant about there, perhaps. A
Citing-
29-year-old.
Citing Gan's favorite memory of us after the Nebraska game. So we're always
Right.
drinking the Kool-Aid.
With the hire of Zac Alley, we will have the best defense in the SEC, guys. I don't know what.
Can I
anyone
change
would
my
think
national
otherwise.
champion pick to
Yeah.
Oklahoma now that Zac Alley's around?
That's all I got.
And on that, we will move on to the next thing. I'm just going to label this the transfer portal,
Yeah.
period. We've
Mhm.
got a full list of all of the transfers that we know of right now coming in. I'll read it off really fast because I hate reading off lists like this, but I don't know how to get the information out any better. So as of today, January 9th, we've got Michigan State offensive lineman Spencer Brown, San Diego State cornerback Dejon Malone, Purdue wide receiver Deion Burks, UT Martin running back Sam Franklin, Southeastern Louisiana tight end Fowler Sharp, North Texas offensive lineman Fabechi Wawu, Utah cornerback Jocelyn Malaska, Florida State kicker Tyler Keltner, Miami of Ohio defensive end and Mark Hall crystal ball exclusive Caden Woolard, USC offensive lineman. That B out there couldn't keep him. Michael Tarquin and Baylor tight end Jake Roberts, brother of four-star tight end target Nate Roberts. Guys, I think it's best if we just throw names out there and guys being dudes talk about them. There are rumors that Casey Thompson is also in Norman working out with the team. He hasn't shared anything. The team hasn't shared anything, but I'll leave that there. Ryan Tyson, who excites you the most on this list? And everyone else, you can't choose the same guy, but you can talk to Ryan about his pick. Go.
Thank you for setting the parameters, Mark.
I think the two that I want to talk about are for a specific reason. Cornerback Jocelyn Malaska and then Baylor tight end Jake Roberts. Oklahoma boys. Why does
Balloons?
Hey,
why does
balloon
this keep happening?
celebration.
Why does Gan keep doing
No,
this?
I swear it's not me. It's not. How can I control your
No,
screen from where I'm at?
It's
How am I
when
doing
they do the
this?
peace
you did a
sign.
peace sign. You did a peace
Yeah.
sign, and balloons come up on the screen.
It's not doing it.
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well,
there
it
goes.
did, I guess. All right.
Anyway,
Ryan, tell us about the two guys.
we talk a lot. We've talked a lot this year about how it is this coaching staff's priority to get and keep in-state talent. And I think there's been in the past regime not a intention to do that. And I think what we've seen is some real talent fall through the cracks and us not even having a chance at them. I love the fact that even in the transfer portal, we're still going back and getting these young guys or young-ish guys. I know Jake Roberts has like a year left, but who are from Oklahoma, and we're bringing them home. And I know both of these, there are probably ulterior motives as well because they both have younger siblings. But I love the fact, I cannot get over the fact that we are so focused on Oklahoma as a recruiting state and how important that is. And we've talked about like each guy specifically, we've talked about the tight end room. So I love bringing in a big bodied guy like Jake Roberts into the tight end room, which we don't really know what it's going to look like next year with Devon Mitchell coming in. So I love just bringing in more talent there and seeing like what shakes. And then Jocelyn Malaska, again, cornerback room is crowded, but I think there is opportunity to show yourself in those things. And I think I just overall, I love the fact that we've we've focused on local for the future, but also some of those people that we've missed in the past. So
On that super fast, Jocelyn Molaska is a PWO. So we are
yes,
getting a guy who was a scholarship offer from a Pac-12 school at the time in Utah, taking advantage of those Oklahoma ties to claw back an athlete like that, and you don't even have to use a scholarship to get him. That's flipping the script on it a little bit, right? You offer all these Oklahoma kids, you bring them in, you bring them in, you bring them in, and then you go to the portal and you say, "Oh, you're from here too, and you want a new fresh start? Come on to town." Patrick, any thoughts on Ryan's or new guy?
Yeah, I'm going to focus in on Tyler Keltner, the Florida State kicker, coming in, really hoping he takes over the kicking duties for this Oklahoma team moving forward. The kicking was not where it needed to be last season. We need a solid kicker who we can fully rely on, especially when we have so many close games like we have been having, like we will have in the SEC. A kicker who we can rely on game in and game out will be key. So I really like this pickup. He's got a pretty good track record, experienced, like a lot. Secondly, I'm going to go off the list a little bit because I want to manifest Zalen's Hurd, 5-star from last year, LSU
Don't do this.
offensive
Don't
lineman.
do this.
We gotta
manifest.
manifest it, guys. I hope to God he comes to the University of Oklahoma to help this offensive line. That's our biggest question mark going in the SEC. I know there's a reason why he is transferring, but it would be great to land someone with that amount of potential coming to OU. That's all I got.
Yeah, I wish that you didn't jinx it like that, because now he's definitely not coming to OU.
Definitely
But-
going to
we
Tennessee.
definitely just got jinxed.
Yeah, we've talked about it a little bit, and man, if you lose Caden Green but replace him with that guy, that's maybe a net positive for your offseason. That's stupid. That's silly. That doesn't make sense. Patrick, I hate that selection. Matt Gang, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll highlight two guys that we've talked about before, but Deshaun Malone, the cornerback out of San Diego State, 6'2", 200 pounds, had 34 tackles, 1 forced fumble, interception, and 7 pass breakups. His also passer rating when quarterbacks target him is very low. This is a guy that really can make an immediate impact, possibly play alongside 6-year senior Woody Washington to help lock down some of those SEC high power offenses and wide receivers. So really looking forward for him to make pretty much a day one impact, as well as what Mark dropped his balls on the other day. Miami, Ohio defensive end Caden Woolard. This guy is 6'5", 252, had 41 tackles, 9.5 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles at his time this last season. So this brings really good competitive depth to a very good defensive end group. My only worry is where does PJ and some of these other guys? I mean, they're going to have to rotate these guys. And I wonder if this limits the ceiling of some of these guys coming in, or maybe it helps them, rotate some healthy bodies, keeps them fresh and able to get after the quarterback. But you need guys like this, especially at this position, to be able to bring pressure to these quarterbacks, because in the SEC, if you give them enough time, they are going to dissect you all day long. So you need guys like Caden Ward coming in the transfer portal. I think that was a huge get. And again, I think both these guys I mentioned can really make immediate impacts on the defensive side of things.
Yep. Deshaun Malone, 6'2", 200. You wonder, after Kendall Dolby, even smaller than that, saw some time at not nickel, but cheetah. You wonder if, with the cornerback room looking mostly solid, I mean, we've got guys upon guys upon guys that we expect to play well. You wonder if Des Malone maybe finds his way to the nickel, to the cheetah, gets his way onto the field that way. The one that I want to zero in on, and I have talked about him before whenever he signed with or committed to Oklahoma, but Deion Burks. Last year, 47 catches, 629 yards, 7 touchdowns. He's a 5'11", 195-pound sophomore. So he's got 2 or 3 years left. I don't really know how it works anymore, but let's call it 2. Let's call it 2. This guy reminds me of some sort of like not quite as fast as Hollywood Brown and not quite as maneuvery as Marvin Mims, but some weird combination of the two that maybe doesn't have the ceiling of those guys. And Jalil Farouk, we think, is coming back. That's wonderful. Yeah, right. I'd love to see him step up as maybe more of a slot presence this year, but you need more guys in the rotation. Deion Burks is absolutely going to be a tool in the tool shed. He's going to be a weapon for Seth Luttrell and Jackson Arnold on the offense. And I like adding someone like this because I don't think that Farouk necessarily has the speed that a player like Burks has. And I don't think that Brennan Thompson has the maneuverability that a guy like this has. And I worry that we would force Gavin Freeman into some situations I don't want him in if we didn't bring in a guy like this. So Deion Burks is my selection. You guys think anything positive, negative about Burks?
I just think that wide receiver room's stacked. I just hope our quarterback has time to throw it to them. That's my main concern. So,
well, if Patrick's right and his favorite transfer commit for Oklahoma, is it Zalance, Patrick?
I believe so.
I've been saying Zalance in my head.
Hey, we could go either way.
Big Z Hurd.
Easy.
If he chooses Oklahoma, that becomes number one on everyone's list. I feel like it has to. One thing that I want to mention, we're losing defensive tackles up front, and we have not signed one in the portal. So you're really going to have to look for someone like Grayson Halton to step up, or even Patrick's number one pick from the Oklahoma 23 draft class draft from a few episodes back, Jaden Action Jackson. You're going to have to look at someone else to clog the middle up because we haven't brought in any adults in the room.
It's a great point. It's a scary point.
It's a scary point.
They seem like they know what they're doing.
Lines in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick, last point.
Yeah, last point. Casey Thompson practicing. Those rumors, if they are true, I'm a fan of it. Jackson Arnold gets hurt in the first or second game. I don't know if Michael Hawkins is ready to take the reins there. Getting a guy who's experienced and better than a Booty or a Bevel into the program. He's older. I like that a lot. Even though his past is Texas and Nebraska, but that's okay.
Yeah, but
he's an Oklahoma kid, though, right?
Yeah, he is.
Right. His dad played for OU, and it's almost like the perfect mold of a quarterback we talked about earlier in the offseason. You'd love to get a transfer portal guy, but who's gonna come? Casey Thompson apparently might come.
Perfect. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, really good, really good. Matt Gann, any final thoughts on? Actually, okay, all right. You're saying no, and that's wonderful. So we're gonna close with the Oklahoma guys who are portaling out. And Patrick thankfully gave us a short list of guys who have not landed on a team yet. That's unfortunate for them. Davis Bevel, Reggie Grimes, Blake Smith. We need those guys to find teams because we support all our homies.
Yeah.
Dalen Smothers just committed to NC State. And let me tell you, I'm just shocked. I'm so surprised that the guy who nearly decommitted last year for NC State is going home to NC State. Didn't see that one coming. Personal favorite of mine, Jason Llewellyn, going to Texas Tech.
What's your dude?
Raider up, baby. That's my guy.
Raider. Hey, what about Marcus Major going to Minnesota?
Yeah, Minnesota.
Good for him.
Good for
Gophers, baby.
Absolute gopher, man. Good. Thanks for bringing him up. That's awesome. Hopefully,
they have a really good run game. I forgot the guy that played for Minnesota's run game this year, but had a really good year, and maybe Marcus Major can fill that void.
Ibrahim something.
Yeah.
Or maybe that was last year's guy. But
same guy.
PJ Fleck, man, he sees something in Marcus, and we all saw something in Marcus.
Row the boat.
Fingers
Row
crossed.
the boat.
Row the boat. All right, moving on. Oklahoma. Patrick, where'd you find this list?
That's ESPN.
All right, do you have the list up?
Oh, do I have? Yeah, I have the list up.
Because I don't have the list up.
Sure.
You just have
the list that we're talking about.
So yeah, ESPN came out with way too early.
Thanks, Pat.
Yeah, ESPN came out with way too early top 25 rankings going into next year. Oklahoma lands at number 15 in the way too early rankings. Number 1, Georgia. Number 2, Texas. That's funny. Number 3, Oregon Ducks. 4, Alabama. 5, Ohio State. 6, Michigan. 7, Ole Miss. 8, Missouri. Oh my God. 9, Arizona. 10,
Oh my
Notre
God.
Dame. 11, Washington. 12, Penn State. 3, Utah Utes. 14, LSU Tigers. And number 15, the Oklahoma Sooners, which would not land them in the playoffs next year. What are your thoughts?
God, next year's schedule is gonna. It's so hard.
I think it's fine. 15 is fine. If you look at it from like the 50,000-foot view, we're replacing an offensive coordinator, we're replacing a defensive coordinator, we're replacing a quarterback, we're replacing several offensive linemen. It is right to assume, if you're not in the weeds of all this Oklahoma crap like we are, that a regression to like 15 is going to happen. That's not even crazy. I
No.
think that's totally fine. The Texas thing is something I want to get into here in a little bit, but no, I think 15 is fine. I'm not crying about that at all. I'm not losing any sleep about that at all. Matt, Ryan, any thoughts?
No, I mean, I think that's the right spot for us. I mean, people who don't, like you said, don't follow it as closely, probably just have 6 picks against Arizona. And we're like, no, this is not a team that should be in the top 10 next year, which fair. So I think my biggest takeaway of that is just, and I mentioned it already, but like that schedule that we have this year, we play Alabama, we play at Ole Miss, we play at Missouri, like get ready. Like we did not come into the SEC. We did not come in with an easy schedule. So
At this point, we might need a program guys trip to Columbia, Missouri, because them boys are talking too much.
they're talking a lot.
They are. They're everything online that Oklahoma fans are supposed to be online.
I
They're
kind of love
so
it.
bad.
I
They're
love
so
it.
bad.
Because that used to be a rivalry in like the Big 12,
Sure.
Small rivalry, like
The Chase Daniel days.
Chase Daniel days. Yeah, I remember being in San Antonio for the Big 12 championship when we played Missouri.
San
But
Antonio for the
I-
championship.
that's where it was.
Weird world. Pat, go ahead.
Part of me never wants to bring up Missouri on this podcast because they're so below us that like we shouldn't even be wasting our breath talking about them. Like I kind of want to make it a rule. Like we just don't get into the Missouri thing because they're not Alabama, they're not Georgia, they're not a
We
blue
just-
blood.
What do we do next year? We just skip the week that we play
Just
them, or we
skip 'em.
call them
Like-
that team.
Like we just do the
We don't even talk
post-game-
about the game.
We do like a 2-minute post-game podcast saying the score and like duh, and then we just move on.
I hope we win.
Another thing that sticks out to me is that there are 2 Big 12 teams in front of us on that list. First being Arizona and the second being Utah. If we stayed in the Big 12, we would have gone in the top 12 next year pretty easily. Going into the SEC, we have less of an opportunity to make the top 12, to make the playoffs. Again, to my point, for the last 2 years,
Forever and ever,
I don't like that we're going to SEC.
You've
But
been
that's
making
okay.
this point.
It's all right. I've
So
accepted
now we
it.
get to play. Now we get to play your volunteers.
Yep. With
So,
their
Patrick-
returning offensive line and great wide receivers and top
And Nico, dude.
quarterback.
Nico. Oh,
So Patrick,
yeah.
seeing the way it's played out, you're still like, man, we should have stayed in the Big 12.
I think we would have dominated in the Big 12. Yeah. Well, duh.
Yeah, I guess there's something to be in the big fish in the small pond as the other ponds get larger and larger and get
Yeah.
way more money.
Going into next year, 15 feels right. That wouldn't bring us into the playoffs. That would be disappointing, but it does feel right now, which would suck.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Matt, we haven't heard nearly enough from you. I want all of your thoughts.
yeah, I've seen a couple different lists, anywhere between 15 up to 18. I think that's a good spot and honestly fair with brand new offensive line, brand new defensive coordinator, brand new quarterback. I think all those things deserve a spot outside the top 12. And I think for OU's expectations is that if we can make it to the playoff 12, be the 12 best teams, that would be a huge step in the right direction. I don't know if we're going to get there based off our schedule. The first year going the SEC, I think we're still about 1 or 2 steps behind. Currently, when I look at these other teams and their quarterback situations and their players that they have coming back and all that, I just think OU is really outside looking in at this point. Potential upside, and there is a ceiling there, but I think it's fair where we're at currently for these way too early rankings.
Totally agree. Any final thoughts on this, guys?
Nope.
Awesome. Matt, you know what time it is. The wagons are here and they need to be circled. Get after it, King.
Yeah, we haven't done this in a while, so I'm going to bring it back a little bit, but I did want to start off with something I haven't done, but we have to give appreciation and acknowledge. Sure, you guys saw on Twitter, Dewey Selman, one of the Selman brothers, got elected to the college football Hall of Fame. He is OU's 24th member of the College Hall of Fame, finished his career with 325 tackles, 25 tackles for losses, 3 fumbles, and 2 recovered. The Selman brothers will always be forever and ingrained. Obviously, they got their statue last year during the spring game. Well-deserved, and OU flexing on them. 24th member. I don't know what the other numbers are for other schools if someone wants to look it up, but that's pretty darn impressive. Want to give my appreciation and acknowledge Dewey Selman. Moving on to the sports, OU men's basketball currently 13-1. They are top 9. They have reached top 10 again after they lost to UNC a few weeks back, 81-69. But they did go on a 3-game winning streak, beating Central Arkansas, Monmouth, and they started Big 12 play just last week, beating Iowa State in the Big 12 opener, 71-63. They will play the TCU Horned Frogs this week, and hopefully they can continue to play well. But currently in the Big 12, there are 6 teams in the top 25. And just to go over those teams, that is number 2, Houston, who's playing tonight, number 3, Kansas, number 14, Baylor, number 18, BYU, and number 25, Texas. So the Big 12 is going to continue to be a gauntlet as OU plays in the Big 12 round out. So
Matt,
yes,
Matt, just a question real fast.
Yes, sir.
Do you think the SEC move, how do you think that affects us for basketball purposes? Because suddenly there were really good teams in the SEC too, right?
Right.
But the Big
Kentucky,
12's a
mostly.
gauntlet on the basketball side of things. Are we maybe moving into a better situation? And commenters, hit us up too. Let us know.
Yeah, when you think about it, I mean, when you think about the SEC, you really think Kentucky, the Alabamas, teams that are on the rise. I mean, I don't think they're anywhere near what the Big 12 and the ACC produce year in and year out. So I believe it probably is a step down competition-wise, but I believe with the out-of-conference schedules and some of those things, maybe we can continue to be competitive. But I definitely think it's a step down. I mean, the Big 12 and the ACC have really been dominating NCAA basketball the last, I would say, 5-10 years. When it comes to college winners and who dominates. So definitely a step down, point, but it's a good team still.
Only 3 SEC teams in the top 25. I'll let you finish.
Right. No, I think that's a great point, as not just OU football is moving to SEC, a lot of these other sports as well, they're going to be impacted their regular season and teams that they're going to play. So definitely a good point. Patrick, Ryan, any thoughts on that before I move on?
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite pitch that football has. It's, hey, let's go to SEC, big cool name, big SEC means more. It'll be pretty easy to dominate it because we've been playing the Big 12 for a while. So let's go dominate it together. Whereas football is like saying the same thing, but come with us for the challenge.
Yeah, I think
so down on it.
And
I think the other
baseball is also
that's what I was going to say. I think I think baseball and softball, they're going to play a lot better teams.
Yeah,
softball,
they are.
Alabama and Florida. You know, baseball is really all the schools. Vanderbilt,
They're all good.
Alabama,
Tennessee.
all those schools. So yeah, Tennessee. I think a lot of the other sports, baseball, softball in particular, are probably going to have a lot of tougher time. Definitely not Tennessee. All right, moving on to women's basketball. They are overall 9-5. They also lost to UNC a couple weeks back, 62-52, and then they lost to a very, very bad team, Southern, who I think had won 2 games at that point. So very, very bad back-to-back losses for them, but they have rallied. They started Big 12 play as well, won 3 straight against UCF, BYU, and Cincinnati. So very good bounce back wins for the OU women's team and Jenny Barastic. So they will also play Kansas State this week. Women's gymnastics started just this past weekend, looking to go back-to-back titles. They beat number 6 Michigan, number 11 Michigan State, and number 9 in the opening. Really good scores for the defending back-to-back champions. They will compete against Utah, LSU, UCLA this upcoming Saturday. Men's gymnastics will compete in their first opening January 13th against Air Force, and men and women's tennis will also start up this week. So starting to get a lot of these other sports involved. So the Circle of the Wagons will continue to expand and keep eyes on all these teams. But that is the Circle of the Wagons update.
One of my favorite off-season things is the way that Wagons expands.
It does.
Because the football just doesn't take up nearly the bandwidth, and so Matt gets to kind of spread his wings a little bit. I like it a lot. We are going to wrap up with our program, guys. PGPs, MVPs. Ryan, go first.
Oh, can I
MVP
go
for the week,
last?
buddy.
I don't have one yet. I need
Yeah,
to
you're
think.
gonna go last. Actually, I'm gonna save the best for last with Ryan Tyson, and it'll be someone from like movies or something, guys. Patrick, you have an MVP?
Wait, I got one. Can
Go
I
for
go?
it.
All right,
Because it will
Ryan's
be
got
about
one.
movies.
I know.
I'm
I know who
giving-
it is actually.
No,
Go
you
ahead.
don't. Do
I
you?
know who it is too. Yeah, it's
I think
that
I do.
girl.
No,
No.
It's that
It
guy.
is.
it's a guy.
It is Christopher Nolan.
Oh, I was wrong. I
who
thought you were gonna go LVP
won-
Joe Coy.
Oh, ooh, that's a good
Right?
one, too.
Would have
Right?
been great. Yeah,
Golden
Public
Globes were
interest.
this weekend. Terrible host aside.
really bad.
Oppenheimer walked out with, big prizes and kind of setting up for an Oscar run, and where I think Christopher Nolan will take home his first director Oscar, which is super awesome considering I love every single one of his movies. So really excited for him. And I think that film is just amazing. So really, really glad it's getting a lot of recognition.
Sort of Team Barbie on that whole thing. Patrick, go ahead.
LVP, hate to do it. Andrew Anthony.
Ooh.
Why?
You
Because
expand.
if he stayed, he would have won the national championship. But I hope he wins the next year with us.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Wait, I
really
got
tough.
so confused when you said, would you say? I was like, wait, is he leaving? I was like,
No.
I'm very.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
I
I'm like,
saw
all
his-
right,
I saw his
Jalil's
tweet.
coming back. I
Yeah.
guess.
No, it's going to be great. I mean, he's obviously going to be wide receiver number 1. Hopefully, he leads us to a national championship and wins one with Oklahoma, too.
I did see his tweet or whatever that quote tweeted the championship, and he was like, "Yeah, them boys" or something like that. I was like, "Oh, he wishes he was there."
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Pat, I'm not sure he walks in as wide receiver 1. I feel pretty strongly that Nick Anderson has that locked up.
Oh, well, I can't wait
Actually,
to go through the depth chart.
battle.
No, but we'll
battle,
get into the positions. Matt, give us your MVP, man.
Yeah, this one's obvious for me. If anyone wants to take a guess, I'll give you 3 seconds to do so.
Aaron Rodgers.
It's something with the Thunder.
Not the Thunder. It's
You
going to
sure?
be one of my. It's going to
Is
be
it
one of my
McAfee?
other teams. It is going to be the Green Bay
McAfee?
Packers. Jordan Love.
So it is Rodgers. Just
No,
connected.
coming out. and
Rodgers
I-
connected.
very up and down year for the Packers, but I feel like Jordan Love has cemented himself as QB1. Again, coming under the lineage of Aaron Rodgers the last 3 years, learning from him. Is he going to be able to take the reins from 2 back-to-back MVPs and Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers? Well, here's his final stats to end the season. He is 2nd in touchdown passes, 7th in passing yards, 8th in completions, passer rating 9th, and games with 100+ passer rating, he was 2nd. Now, to give some context, to put it out there have been a lot of starting quarterbacks that have been injured. So it would have been interesting.
I was about to say something.
With the Joe Burrow and some of those other guys. I mean, this is the 1 year that a lot of guys have been injured. So I do want to take that in consideration, but I believe what Jordan Love has done down the stretch has solidified him as QB1 going forward. And the fact that he hasn't had a 100-yard wide receiver. So he is spreading the ball around to these young rookie wide receivers, even without their best wide receiver, Christian Washington, still injured, leading this team to a playoff berth. They will play Dallas this weekend. Obviously, there's some past history with former Packers head coach Mike McCarthy. Should be a good one. Look out for Jordan Love. Big game this weekend.
I actually have no shade for most of that. Jordan Love played really well down the stretch. So
I have shade just because NFC North,
well,
but
sure, you
fine.
should have shade, but that's all like salt and personal
I
stuff,
hate
right?
the Achilles tendon. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, rightfully so. Rightfully so. You could have Kirk Cousins, if we didn't
All
all have
the
Achilles
shit I've
tendons.
talked about Kirk through the past, and then we
I
don't have
know,
him, and then
man.
everything falls apart.
Turns out he was the spoon
Yeah.
that stirred the drink,
Yeah, for real. It's depressing. Anyway, continue.
Well, since we're keeping it to the NFL, I'm gonna do, I think, the first ever LVP to MVP turnaround. The Atlanta Falcons are my MVP. They have moved on from Arthur Smith. They are conducting a head coaching search. They're sort of butting out GM Terry Fontenot, which I hate. He's done a wonderful job and should be involved every step of the way in this, but that's the game. I don't run the team. Arthur Blank does. I really think I don't like the Belichick thing. I'm not into that at all, but getting rid of Arthur Smith was the first step. Bringing someone in and tying that person to a quarterback and letting that play out the way it's going to, that's the way you have to build a team. That's just what it is. And I am glad that we're not still on the rickety bridge that is the Arthur Smith head coaching tenure. So MVP, the Atlanta Falcons. That's what I got. Any final thoughts, guys? Go ahead. Yeah.
Are you a Lincoln Riley guy?
That would kill me. That would kill me inside so hard. It'll be like head coach Lincoln Riley, and they're gonna draft Bo Nix or some shit, and I'm just gonna have to root for that. That
would be rough.
That would
Yeah,
be
that's
really
as
tough.
bad as it gets. I don't really have like a head coach favorite in mind. As OU has become more and more of my thing, the Falcons are, let's see who they get, and I'm excited about it. Possibly. We'll see when we get there. I'm not diving into the details. Guys, final thoughts on the week, on the MVPs, anything before we get out of here? Nothing at all. I love it. In that case, if you're still with us, if you're listening, make sure you like this episode. If you got all the way down here and you didn't like this episode, that's crazy to me. You absolutely should like. You should hit subscribe. You should tell your friends about us. You should hit the comment section. You should like it on another platform. So if you're on YouTube, go to Spotify, and you're on Spotify, go to YouTube. Like it there. Share it with a friend. Follow us on all of our social media at Program Guys with a Z. This has been episode 104. We miss you, Mason. We love you. Patrick, take us out.
Keep pushing it, baby.
3, 2, 1, go!
There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.